we'll get in a spaceship and we'll leave Earth and get out of here. And she just stares at him like, God, you're stupid. You're so stupid, little derpy. And he just scampers away. He just scampers away. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content in my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video. Chat, because we got to go ahead and get into my movie. So in case I missed you, welcome. Happy hump day to you, Chet. Happy Wednesday. I know it might be, we're in the middle of the work week, the school week, or what have you, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Let me entertain, serenade, and perhaps even woo you tonight with my various content that I prepare for you, Chat. Cheers and salute. May the wings of luminous of feather you shake the pillows of heaven as we speak. Happy to have you here, Chat. But now, my friends, I must ask you a very important question before we get into tonight's review of John Krasinski's 2018 creature feature, Chat. Kind of the film that put him on the map in terms of his directing career. Of course, because we're all familiar with good old John Krasinski, Chat. He's appeared in a number of films, of course. Action star, he's Jack Ryan now. But, of course, he famously played Jim in the American version of The Office. Chat. Oh, he's so handsome. Almost was Captain America, Chat. Was considered for Captain America at one point. Could have had a totally different career, Chat. It's interesting. But I have to ask you, Chat, right here, right now. How many of you have seen A Quiet Place? Shut the fuck up. How many of you seen it? I'm curious, Chat. Axel, good to see you. Did you see, fortunately, Miss Stream of DT? Hope your day was good. No apologies necessary. It's happy to have you here now. It's okay. It was good. It's a good day. Busy day. Busy day as always, but it's a good day. Happy to have you here, Axel. Did you tell I've seen this a couple times? I thought this was an excellent film. Chris here says, hell yeah. Bella Carizian, many times. Dear Spock, me. Blackstone, I saw it. It was brilliant. Knowing women, I have. Cassidy, I saw it in theaters. Loved it. That boy, I love A Quiet Place. Randy Fish, he's the main character in the short film Paperboy. Oh, yes. What happened? I enjoyed it. Wish I would have seen it in a theater, though. Ellen Berger, I have not seen it. I think I may have either years or walked out of the room while you review. Oh, no problem. I understand. I've not seen it, but want to. You should. Alex Manal, I have not. I really enjoyed it. Jason Beer, I've seen a few times. Not a me. I loved it. I was really creative and new, very impressive. This is interesting, Chat. I like this. Most of you have seen it, but we do have some people in here who have not seen it, Chat. Well, now is the time to see it, okay? The big reason why I'm doing this review, Chat, also why I'm releasing a full-length video and audio commentary for the film this Friday. You got that prep. I did that earlier this week, Chat. You're going to see that commentary this Friday, just in time for the release of A Quiet Place 2, A Quiet Place, Part 2. It should be exciting. But like many of you guys who have seen it, I am a big fan of this movie. You guys know I'm a sucker for sci-fi horror, Chat, body horror. That is my subgenre of horror films. And I love I love a good creature feature. I've talked about it here many a times on my channel, whether it be Alien or The Thing, or even something like David Cronenberg's The Fly, Chat. Like, these are the kind of movies that appeal to me. It's like we're dealing with an extraterrestrial organism. To me, that this feels, or it's like Man versus Nature. Like, both of those, I really like even films like that, like Man versus Nature, something like Deliverance. Those are really cool. And I like the idea of an extraterrestrial organism, whether it's a real creature or it's a disease or something like that. It arrives, it's trying to influence our environment. We have to learn to live with it or fight it or try to, prevent our own genocide. Like, I always love that concept. And sometimes you have films that are derivative of each other, but that's okay. As long as you do it well, I think as long as you do it well, then you're good. Like this film, it's doing a lot of the hallmarks you typically see of a creature feature film, but what made this unique to me is I just love the idea that you can't communicate with each other. You can't fucking say a word, Chat, because these creatures in this movie, which look like giant fucking, like before, when I saw the movie, I said, well, other than the ending, which I thought, that's probably the weakest part of the film, like the very last moment of the ending. We'll get it. Thank you so much, Peter, for another 5 biddies. Appreciate a lot. Oh, yeah, you can't fart in this world. If you fart, you're dead. That's it. That's your last time to pass any gas, Chat. That's it. Like, how do you take a shit quietly? It's hard. How do you have sex quietly? I mean, they clearly did a lot of scenarios we have to consider. We have to think, we got to be quiet now. We can't do this loud anymore, which is interesting. Which is why what big reason I like this film so much. Why I think it stands out among a lot of creature features that we've gotten over the years. And I've always appreciated theatrical release creature features because so many, I think creature features in general are like looked down upon by, you know, critics or whatever, or film goers or film buffs or cinephiles, whatever. Whatever, chat. But because so many are like on the Sci-Fi Channel, so many, when you think of creature feature, I think for a lot of people, the first thing that comes to their mind is, you know, Titanoboa versus Octocroc, like on the Sci-Fi Channel, like those original movies and things. But when we get a theatrical release creature feature, it's like, okay, this is typically of some quality. I like to think most of the time that they are. It's like, okay, it proved itself enough where it broke through all those other kind of really B and D and Z list kind of movies. So like, no, this is a genre we can experiment, we can have so much fun with, and do new things with. Because I think what this movie does so well is how it plays with sound and how it doesn't use sound. Because these creatures, which are like these giant stick bugs. And, you know, before I never really appreciated their designs. I was like, oh, they're just kind of like these giant bugs things, maybe reminiscent of the necromorph. But it's like, no, I like their design more and more. You know, just seeing how it moves. But it's another, and how they, like, you hear the clicking, how they move around and stuff. But they're like giant stick bugs. You think of like a stick bug, you're like, I have nothing wrong with stick bugs. I think stick bugs are fine. Stick bugs are very calm. They don't fuck with anybody. I like stick bug shit. Sometimes insects are like, oh, they're creepy. Stick bugs aren't creepy. They're not creepy. I think they're cool. They're cool, and they're just like, hey, you're just going to eat a leaf. I'm not going to bother you. They love the environment. It's natural. And then John Krasinski said, I'm going to make that fucking horrifying. So he made a stick bug horrifying, chat. And it's got all these fucking bark plates on it, and it hits you, and you just fucking explode. And I love that. I absolutely love it. Peter's got another 5 biddies. Appreciate it. I love the concept. I love the originality of this, where you cannot make a sound, even the littlest of sounds, because they will fucking hear it from so far away, and they will come a running. And for for a species, our civilization, where we're used to being loud, even when we think we're not being loud, we are loud. It's like, how do you exist in this world? And he introduces the concept, chat, with his family, which is the Abbott family. Which he has with, John Krasinski and his wife, Emily Blunt. The reason why they've existed so long in this world, and I think it's brilliant, is that they know sign language because their daughter is deaf, and they have to learn sign language for her, and everyone else in the family knows sign language. Oh, that's brilliant. And so another thing I like about this film is, for the most part, it's subtitled. So it's like a foreign movie. And like when I first saw the trailer for this, I was like, I really like this. I like what I'm seeing. It looks cool. I love creature feature and all that. But the thing that worried me is, like, I don't know if audiences would, because I thought the marketing was brilliant. Loved it all of it because it appealed to me, especially as a sci-fi horror fan, body horror fan. Like, oh, I love this. Everything about this looks cool. But I was wondering if the subtitle thing would throw a lot of like Western audiences off for American audiences. But clearly it didn't, because at the time, chat, it was one of the best reviewed movies of 2018. Yes, John Krasinski had already made several other films that were kind of forgotten. A lot of dramedies, mumblecore movies. But this is one of those films that really set him apart. He's like, oh shit, yeah, man, you're excellent as a horror director. Critically praised, chat. Huge box office success. Like, it's a relatively low budget film, but they use the money extremely well. I'll point to certain things. I'm like, oh, here you go. This is what you need, because they hide creature for the most part, but that's fine. He took the alien approach, where, like Ridley Scott says, well, we can't show the creature all that much, because we're gonna let the horror, which we've already built up, around like not making a sound, like that's how we're gonna sell it. That's how we're gonna sell the scares, and that's what's even more effective than the actual creature. It's like, oh no, don't do that, don't make that sound. Like, that's what's so scary about this film, and it was effective. It worked for audiences, chat, because on a budget of $17 to $21 million, that's what it says on Wikipedia, made $340.9 million, chat, and it made a shit ton, made hundreds of millions of dollars on VOD as well. So this is a huge success. And it's a film that I've seen probably maybe over a dozen times since 2018, because I own it on Blu-ray. It's like, that's a day one purchase as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray, chat. I only buy physical pieces of media, films or TV shows or something like that I really, really, truly love. And usually I look through my list, like, what would I like this year? And usually it's like several films. Usually it's under 10, maybe between like 7 or 8 or something like that. And that one was number 1 on my list. I absolutely love this one. One of my favorite films of 2018. Yeah, so you can already kind of, you get the sense what my rating is going to be. Although I may have some criticism of it. So, but overall, fantastic film. And I even just love the subtlety of it. Because, like, there's things in the background, like what happened. I guess we're going to see more of, like, the invasion, day 1, day 0, if you will, of this insane incident of these creatures that came to Earth. We're going to see a little more of that in Quiet Place Part 2. But I love that, you know, because maybe they haven't had the whole lore figured out yet, but they're still, like, hinting at it. Like, they have general ideas, which I think is fine. Very reminiscent, again, of Ridley Scott's Alien. It's so cool that so many critics, and even when I was a part of the review, or at least I sat in on the review, that Corey and Martin of Double Toasted did for Quiet Place Part 2, where they're making a lot of comparisons to Aliens. Quiet Place Part 2 is the Aliens of the franchise, whereas Quiet Place is the Alien of the franchise. Because, you know, you're not really seeing the creature all that much, and it's a smaller film, more compact movie, which I like. I think it works for it. But I even like how in the background you see, like, all these newspapers, like John Krasinski's character, the father's character, he's collected, and, like, people are theorizing, like, where the fuck did these things come from? You know, there wasn't a meteor. Did they land on a meteor? Were they like a parasitic organism? And it's like, okay, what's their function? Because it seems like they attack people. Like, that's the thing that's very interesting to me. It's like, I hope they don't over-explain it. They don't do the fucking Prometheus thing. They don't do the Alien Covenant thing. We're working, you know, it's like, yeah, it was fucking black goo and some vases, and David, there was David, Michael Fassbender, and he, you blow, I'll do the fingering. It's like, let's not go down that road. But it's like, what are these things really? Like, what's their purpose? Because they don't seem to eat anything. They seem to just to fucking attack something and kill it and make sure that it's dead so it stops making a noise because it hurts it. You know, are these weapons of war? Are these a biological weapon, kind of like what the aliens were and their own franchise? Like, it's interesting to me. I really like that. You know, I don't mind guessing. I don't mind, like, yeah, you don't have to over-explain everything. I think it's cool if you give little subtle hints and, like, maybe what we have an inkling of what these things possibly could be. I think that's awesome. I think that's really awesome, chat. But let's go ahead and start, chat. Day 89, chat. Day 89 of the apocalypse. So apparently, most of humanity, or maybe we don't even know. That's the other thing. We don't even know what the state of the overall world is at this point, which I think is really cool. But on the North American continent, chat, society has collapsed. These things apparently have infested all over the continent, chat, have killed most of the population at this point. Thank you. Thank you so much, Super Saiyan Black Man. Thank you for all. You're my new Huckleberry. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Currently in the middle of my review of A Quiet Place 1, not Part 2, 1. But day 89. So we're in upstate New York, chat. Where we're inside where I love the shots too because it really perfectly sets the world. How like the flora and fauna have started to take over like this small upstate New York town. It's all overgrown. All these storefronts have all been, you know, bashed in either by the creatures or people looking for resources. That's the other thing too. Like there's a lot of stuff. Like it's the subtlety of this movie, chat, that I love. Because you'll notice, thank you, by the way, Darkseid, for the 5 days. I bet you. You blow, I'll do the fingering, is what Juicy will see, not by previous bit donation. Thank you, Darkseid, for the 5 days. But I think it's cool how, because it's great environmental storytelling that John Krasinski is doing that I really appreciate. Axel, thank you so much for the 5 biddies. Where you go in all these stores, for the most part, have a shit ton of food in them still. They have a lot of resources. They have a lot of medicine. And it's because this alien invasion or whatever it was, this parasite infection that came from space, it happened so fast and it was so overwhelming that people didn't even have time to grab resources. Like humanity got fucked by these things. And so now you didn't have the whole like zombie apocalypse, like all the grocery stores at this point, all the malls have all their stuff taken out. It's like, no, there's still plenty of things around. It's just these things were just so effective at killing. No one had time to grab all this stuff for resources. Like that's a really subtle thing in the beginning of the movie that I really appreciate. But the movie starts out, you're inside this very large, looks like a small grocery store, convenience store or something like that. Looks like a dollar store, if anything. And you have this family inside there. You have this one, and I'm going to call him, his name is Bo. You have the littlest of the Abbott family, chat. You have Reagan, who is deaf. You have Marcus, who's all like, oh, the whole time, which is what I would be. He's the middle child, chat. Always fucking afraid of everything. I don't blame him. I don't blame him. He's the audience. Marcus is the audience avatar character. He's the one that fucking freaks out. But he stays quiet. Gotta give him that, chat. He's smart. He's a coward, but he's actually he's not a coward, chat. He's just scared. He's not a coward. He's just scared, but he's smart, which I like. And Reagan's smart too. Reagan's smart too. She fucks up a little bit, but she's pretty much smart too. But then you have the dumbest of the children. You have Bo, chat. And his name is, give him so welcome to stream. His name will no longer be Little Bo. Is Little Derp. He's derpy, chat, because he's fucking running through the store as if nothing's fucking. I mean, yeah, he's on his. They're all on their bare feet. Even the subtlety with that, where their socks are off. They're not wearing any shoes because those make sound, chat. Like we realize in this world, like you can't make a fucking sound. And you have the little kids scamper around and shit, having a great goddamn time. And you have you have little Marcus, chat. Marcus, he's all, he's not looking good, chat. And the family had an outing today because they're looking for pills here, looking for medication for Marcus, who has some kind of sickness, illness, chat, some kind of fever. You have Emily Blunt, who is carefully moving pill bottles out of the way to get the exact one for Marcus. Then, chat, we see, like, good old, I keep getting the character's name. Reagan, like the Exorcist, chat, like the Exorcist. She's moving around, and, she sits down next to her brother, who's, like, drawing, like, this thing on this paper, chat, with this little charcoal piece, and he draws a spaceship, and she signs to him. It's like, hey, it looks really good. And he's like, this is how we'll get out. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, we'll get in a spaceship and we'll leave Earth and get out of here. And she just stares at him like, God, you're stupid. You're so stupid, little derpy. And he just scampers away. Eventually, little derp, he finds himself a rocket ship, chat, sitting on, it's like a dollar store rocket ship, it's cheap as hell, but he is blown away by this thing. It's like, whatever happens in this world, I must have this rocket ship. It has my full attention. And he grabs this thing. He's like, and he fucking knocks it over. And thank God for Reagan, because she goes, she's a great sister, chat. She fucking dives, catches this thing right as Dad's about to walk into the store. Right as Dad walks in, he's like, all the supplies too. He's like, this little fucking kid's gonna get us, okay, he's gonna get us killed. And she's like, ooh. And she gives it to the kid, and the whole family, they waddle back over to Dad, and Dad, he's like, whoop, oh no, she puts it back on the shelf. She puts it back, like, this is what happens, chat. She puts this thing back on the shelf, and then the fucking kid grabs it again, and then Dad's like, and he's like, the little derpies, and Dad takes it, and he takes the batteries out. He just wanted to fucking activate, they make all the blaring noises, and he signs to the kids like, listen, this thing makes too much noise, okay? You can't take this. It makes too much noise. And so then he takes the batteries out, puts it on the countertop, and they all leave. And then, he's all like, he's all sad and shit. But then it's where she kind of fucks up. Reagan, she takes the rocket ship and then gives it to him and says, shh, like, hey, you gotta be quiet with it, okay? But then the kid fucks up. He should have left when he was ahead, chat. Because all of a sudden, he's like, well, I want this thing to make sound, and he grabs the batteries. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Michael the Collector, welcome to stream. This is when I have no sympathy for the kid at this point, chat. It's like, he was gonna die no matter what. Whether it was the apocalypse or not. He was not long for this world. He won the Darwin Awards, chat. And it's like, there you go. You are the dumbest member of their family and your species. But then and this is cool. They're going down this trail, and you see that they're walking on sand, chat, again, to mask the sound of their footprints. Really good world building. I love that. Remember storytelling right there. It's like, you got to be really fucking quiet. And they're walking down this bridge with train tracks on, like, because there's no fucking trains moving around anymore, because those things are loud, and all the train conductors in the world, chat. Imagine, chat, all the train conductors are dead, because they're so goddamn loud. But they're all walking down the bridge and shit. And we see Renee, because we get like every time we go to Reagan, we go to Reagan, like, there's no sound, which I really love that. Like, there's typically no sound when you're seeing things or hearing things from her perspective, or not hearing things from her perspective, because we look behind her over her shoulder and we see the fucking rocket ship just blinking, ba ba ba, wee woo, and she looks up at their family, and the mom's like, ooh, Emily Blunt's all freaked out, and John Krasinski's like, ooh. All that, and John Krasinski gives the son to the mom, and John Krasinski just starts fucking running, shit. He's like, he just goes it, and the kid's just like, he's playing with the rocket ship, and then John Krasinski looks to his right, and we see this fucking thing just hauling ass right towards the kid. We don't know what it is, but it's like, whatever it is, it's probably thinking, I'm gonna kill that fucking kid. I'm gonna kill that noise, wherever the hell is making it. And so John Krasinski, he's still fucking running. Emily Blunt's like, like silently, like crying, but can't do anything. The son's like, oh. all that. Little Marcus is all like, oh, Reagan's like, oh, everyone's sad. And then we get the secret. The little derpy's like, yeah, Dad, you got to save me, Dad. You got to save me. And then right before he reaches him, chat, we see this giant stick bug arm come out of nowhere and go, bah! Just hits him, chat. The kid might as well have exploded. It yeets him. I don't know what it did to him, but it either yeeted him, he either just hit him so hard he exploded like a hot water balloon, chat. I don't know. But John Krasinski just whiffed. He just whiffed. all he was grabbing, chat, was air, where his son used to occupy. We then cut, chat. It's now like 360 plus days after day 89 or something. And when we get a sense of life, the sense of this family unit on their farm, chat, on their homestead. We see that they're now living in the barn and everything. They're for the most part, they're really self-sufficient, chat. Like, these guys, they knew, like, they're hunter-gatherers. They got plenty of food. They got plenty of corn. They have fresh water, chat. They pump fresh water in. It's like they got shit down to a T, chat. And little fucking Derpy was gonna fuck everything up for them, chat. He was gonna get him killed somehow, chat, with that goddamn spaceship, okay? It was gonna happen either that day or the next day or anywhere between day 89 and day 365. It was bound to fucking happen, okay? So the fact that he died was like, you know what? It was best for everybody. It was best for everybody. Horrible one thing with Timothy's, that was the day they stopped walking single file, yeah. Yeah, his name is Derpy. I don't know what his name is Bo, but it's like, you don't deserve the name of Bo, sir. You're Derpy. You're a little derp. And he got derp, Che. He got derp real good. But we get a sense of the family, how they're doing. Like the mom, everyone has their chores and responsibilities and things. They make sure that the farm is running efficiently, as quietly as possible. I think is really cool. Again, it's all the environmental storytelling this movie does. There's so little dialogue in it, but like just what we get from a single shot, like it's just, I just love how they figured things out in this world, or at least this family has, at the very least. Where we go inside the bars where they sleep now. We're inside this giant fruit cellar, chat. We see all the pickled vegetables that they have. It's like years worth of food down there, and they all did this over time. It's like, this is really good. This is a very self-sufficient family, and little Derpy was holding them back. But I love all that stuff. That's really cool. Like, they're still, like, Mom, Emily Blunt, is still teaching the kids, like math and writing different languages and things. It's like, oh, shit, these kids are gonna be fucking, they know that, like, if we ever survive through this apocalypse, our kids are gonna be, like, the smartest fucking people out there, and they're gonna rule the world. So they're, like, he's gonna be, like, presidents someday, or dictators or whatever. I love that. The next thing about this, I hope they don't explain much in the future movies or series, because you'd be asking, why haven't they soundproofed or made weaponry to kill these things? And that's the other thing, too. Because I'm actually glad you brought that up, because it's very much, this little segment of the film is just showcasing their lifestyle. Because at one point, like, you see, like, Emily Blunt moving around and fixing and making all these things. She stands up and she's got a big old prego belly, chat. She's pregnant, and this is interesting because the John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, people criticize this in the movie. I think it's kind of beautiful in a way, where despite their circumstances, like, they're like, no, we're not going to be denied, like, a family. And so they still want to have a family despite the dangers that exist in this world. Because they think, and the thing is, they prep. That's the thing. I like that. It's like, it makes sense. They're not just going to have a fucking baby, but I like that we see that they've created this underground chamber in the pickle room, chat. Like, it's going to be soundproof. You can see that they're like putting copious amounts of newspapers and just pieces of paper, like, on the walls to soundproof them and things. They've created this little box, which I think is a little cool. It's called the baby box, chat. It's where you put the baby. And they have, like, a little breather mask for it, so to keep it muffled, but they're not going to suffocate the baby because it's got a little breather mask on. It's like they thought this through. It's like, we're not, exactly. They're not going to do, like, Derpy 2. We're not going to have Derpy 2.0. It's like, no, we're going to make sure that this next kid is going to be smart, and we're going to prep for it. And that's why I'm like, because some people had an issue with, like, why are they having a kid in this environment? But if they're done this much prep work and they are very self-sufficient, then I'm like, I think I'm fine. It's the pickle room, yeah, because they got all the pickled foods down there. Thank you, Xylon, for the host, and welcome to Stream Xylon. Hope you're doing very well. And so I'm like, okay, they thought this stuff through, and I appreciate it. And so, Mom's teaching the little boy, Marcus, everything's going great. you know, mom's doing all the chores and the errands and things. You know, and then we see like after the day is done, you know, dad came back, he's got some fish. I love how they cook. It's like the oven. I don't know how it works, but like the oven is built into the ground of the barn. And so you see like they've made some fresh salmon or something, chat. It's like it comes out, it's cooked, but they can't use utensils because they make so much noise. And so they have no plates. Everything's on these big giant pieces of lettuce and everything. But it's like they have all the food groups there. They got fish, they got salad, they got fruits, meats, pickled things. It's like it's real. I just love being immersed in this environment. Come, he's a witness. Witness me. See, I said witness loudly, and I would have been dead. We gotta go witness me. When I'm witnessing you come here, welcome to stream. Choose again. But like I love that they sit down and they say grace. They probably say, why God, why the fuck did you put this fucking parasitic organism on Earth, or at least the North American continent? Amen. And they eat their food. And then after that, it's like later in the evening, and like, hey, we still got to have fun. The kids still got to have some fun, chat. And the kids, you know, I guess for the Abbott family, it's like, let's all play Monopoly. And so these kids are playing Monopoly, but they're not using like the actual piece from the game because they make too much noise. So no one can be the fucking shoe, because I'm always the shoe in that game, or any of the other pieces or whatever, chat. So you have these like little cloth pieces, or like I don't know how to describe, but like these little string pieces made of corduroy and whatever, and they're like moving around. They put the dice on like this blanket so they don't make any noise, they don't click together. It's like, this is smart, I really like this. And you know, the kid, the Marcus, he like gets a good roll, and he's like, you owe me $500 fucking dollars, Reagan, yeah. And he reaches for the dice, and they have a lantern right next to him, he knocks that shit over, just bam, 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 makes the loud. And the thing that's cool is that the last noise that we really heard that was loud in the movie was when that kid when little Derpy got. But after that period of time, it's like 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes, I'd say, there's really no sound in the movie. Like how John Krasinski plays of a lack of sound in the film, and what I've heard in Quiet Place Part 2, he even excels at that even more, is absolutely incredible. And so when you hear a loud sound, you go, ah! You feel it as the audience member. It's like the loudest thing imaginable. When that lantern hits the ground, everything just sets on fire. Like, I don't know how fire can spread. I guess it's oil lamps, so that makes sense. And John Krasinski, he goes in the action shot. He grabs a blanket. He stifles the flames and shit. And he's like, shut the fuck up. His eyes just bugging out. And the mom's just like, whoa, my baby belly. And then he like is like being quiet as possible. He goes over to like the window, and he just, bah! We hear this loud thing on the roof. And we're like, oh shit, it's one of these creatures that got little Derpy all those months ago. But then he goes over the window, and then boop, and what falls on the ground, it's not a giant stick bug monster. No, it's a raccoon. And I go, they're making little raccoon noises. And he's like, oh, Jesus Christ, oh, God. And then the little Marcus is like, I'm so sorry, Dad, I'm so sorry. He's whispering, he's signing to. He's like, I'm so sorry about this. But then after that, we see the little raccoon family, chat. These little raccoon babies. They're like, oh, having a great time. They're in the cornfield, just stuffing their tummies with corn. Seriously, they had a great sound team on this. They also did the sound for the Transformers movies and the new Godzilla movie. I didn't know. Thank you for my biddies. Well, they did great work here. But we see this little raccoon family chat. They got the mama raccoon, the daddy raccoon, the little baby raccoons, and they're eating the corn, having a great day. And then, boom, they all get smushed. This fucking giant stick bug head comes out of the cornfield and it doesn't eat them. That's the thing. I'm like, okay, these things are not like predators where they're hunting for meat, because they just fucking hit the thing and they just smush them all. They smush the daddy raccoon, the mama raccoon, all the little baby raccoons, Chad, dead. It's like, wow, okay. And then we cut, and it's however many days, it's like 400 plus days in the future. And, you know, Emily Blunt, she's like, because she's really pregnant now, and she got a big old belly. And she's like listening to her tummy and everything, make sure that she's doing her own blood work at this point, checking her blood pressure, making sure everything's okay. We see a calendar. Due date's like 3 weeks away. She's like, okay, I'm good. Baby's good in here in the tummy. Everything's going great. Also, there was another scene, too. Like, the chemistry between Emily Blunt and John Krasinski is excellent in this film. Probably also helps that they are a couple. They are married. They have children in real life. And I think that's one of the reasons why John Krasinski was inspired to make this movie. Because it's funny. He said in interviews that he didn't grow up on horror films. For research and for things that inspired him, it was, I believe, Jordan Peele's Get Out, the film Don't Breathe, and Jaws. And there's actually a Jaws moment in this movie, which is funny. I was like, how's Jaws? But it's like, I understand what he's talking about. Like, that inspired him to make this film, and how the movie's really about family, want to continue to have a family despite circumstance. I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. Love. And there's this one great scene where we see him, where he's downstairs and he's like working on this hearing aid for Reagan. And it's like down in the basement. This is where we get all the cool lore stuff, where we see all the posters where it's like a meteor. Did they come on a meteor? This giant meteor. And we see like what are their weaknesses? How many are in the area? Like, he's keeping track. Like, you can miss all this stuff in the movie, but he's like keeping track of the ones that are in there, which are about like 3 or 4 of them. He's not sure, but it's like around that many. Like, it's really interesting. And you know, she fucking, she waddles downstairs and he's working on this, and she waddles on over and he's like, you're looking beautiful. And she's like, oh, I'm fat. And he's like, I didn't say nothing. And then she's listening to music. She has got a little iPod on, and she puts one of the earbuds, which is coated in her earwax. You know it, chat. It's just deeply, it's crusty and everything. Just puts it right in there, chat, nice and smooth. And they have a nice earwax dance, and where he holds her tummy, and they hold heads like this, and it's a very beautiful scene. I really like this moment. Again, with so little dialogue, but you just feel that the love that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt have for each other, and it makes every scene that they have in the movie fantastic. He was like, this is an incredibly loving couple who wants to protect their family. They sell it. They nail it. But then we go 100 days in the future. Emily Blunt's doing her blood work and all that shit. We also see that Reagan has become very distant from many members of her family, including her father, where she thinks her father is resentful towards her for the death of the little brother, Bo, little derpy chap. And so she's very cold towards her father. And the father, even though he says he loves the kids, he also is struggling with his relationship with his daughter too. And one time, like when Reagan, as she's walking up to the house, because they do have their house there, but they don't go in it because there's so many loud fucking things in there. And she's like never allowed in the basement, shit. She's never allowed in the basement. And I love it too, because you see in their house, you see like these floorboards that are marked with white paint. And you realize, oh shit, these are the places where they won't creak. Because if they creak, these fucking things will come a running. And so you see her actively trying to move on the white paint pieces of floor. I think it's really cool. And she goes over to the basement. She looks down, and then blah! Then her dad grabs her, fucking John Krasinski, and she's marching. She's mad, and he's like, and she's like, why you stop me from going down there? He's like, you know why? You know you can't go down there. And she's like, why? Why is this? And he's like, listen, hey, like, don't yell at me right now. You know, yell, right? Yeah. But it's I have this for you. And he has new hearing aids. These new hearing aids, and she says he's trying to put them in her ear, and she's like hitting his hand away. She's like, stop. I actually know a little sign language, chat. Stop. This is what this means in sign language. Stop. And so he's still trying to do, and she just says, just stop. And he's telling her but this is from a stereo. It might work better. And it's like, they never work. They never work. Okay, stop. Leave me alone and shit. And so she walks off. And he's like, oh, he's sad. He's sad, chat. We cut back to Emily Blunt, who's still super prego, and she's teaching little Marcus, math. And, Marcus is like, God, I fucking hate math. She's like, I hate math too, but I want to raise a stupid kid in the apocalypse. Do you all know, you know how many stupid kids are going to be in the apocalypse that can't read, that can't write, they don't know what 2 + 2 equals? I'm not having a stupid derpy kid. We learned of little derp all the way back in the day. I'm not having it happen to you. He's like, all right, fair enough, Mom, I get it. But then Dad comes over, and Dad is, John Krasinski. He's like, all right, it's time to head out. He's got a backpack for himself, backpack for him. And Marcus, I love the kid who plays Marcus. He is so good at just looking like a scared little bitch. And he's not like a coward. He's not a coward. He's scared, but he's the audience avatar character. So it works for the scenes. He's competent. He's a competent, scared character. And he looks to his dad on the side and goes, oh! He looks at his mom. He's always his eyes always get so big, and his lips are oh, the whole time. I love it every time they do it. And she's like, don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You need to go with Dad. And he's like, I don't want to go with Dad. She's like, he just wants you to be prepared for when, he might not be around anymore. Foreshadowing. And when I'm all old and I can't take care of myself, my teeth fall out. It's a really cute moment between them. He's like, ha, ha, ha. And she gives him a big kiss because she's still worried, though. You see on her face that she's still worried. But, and we see him just looking like this. He's being like, has a backpack forced on him. And they go out, and Reagan's just looking because she's just mad because she wants to go out all the time. She wants to do that. But, she's denied. And little, John Krasinski and little Marcus, they march out to what destination we shall see. We'll see in a bit. But Reagan, she goes into the house, chat, and she goes to her room, and she tests out the hearing aid that John Krasinski gave her a little while ago. She puts it in. Beep, nothing. It's not nothing. Chat. Frequency's all messed up. Kind of hurts her ear. It's like, now she's like, man, she's mad. And then she goes over to her cupboard, and she opens it up, and it's like wrapped in this material. Like in this like blanket, and it's the rocket ship. And she's like, I have a quest to do. And she goes out, and she's like, she's just very annoyed with what's happening. Eventually, we follow John Krasinski and Marcus. We were following them as they're going down this the path of all the sand. We also see that John Krasinski has to go and lay down more sand, so because it eventually dissipates, Chad. And, it spreads everywhere, so he always has to lay down like a fresh trail, and they know which ways to go. And he's like fixing it as they go along. And we see where they're going. They're going to this riverbed, this kind of like little pond area where they catch all these fish. It's like, that's where they get all the fish. That makes sense. That's good. Get the omega-3s in there, chat. That's a very healthy diet. It's why the kids don't look fucking malnourished in this movie. Good explanation. So you don't have to fucking starve the kids before they go ahead and make the movie. Smart, John Krasinski. Smart with the world building. And so they go over there, and they see in the fucking the cool like wooden nets they made that there's a shit ton of fish, and he takes it out, but you got to hit the fish against the rock so its brains explode, and you can take it back. The one fish gets out of John Krasinski's hands, and it goes in the water, goes, psh, makes a big splash, and the kid's like, whoa, whoa, whoa! And he wants to fucking take off, and he wants to take off running. But John Krasinski, it's okay. Small noises are fine. The things won't hear him. And he goes, hey, I want to show you something. The kid's like, oh, okay. And then they go over. Eventually, we cut back to Emily Blunt. And she's doing, laundry and stuff, hanging up all these clothes outside. But then she gets hit with that melancholy, chat, because, she's pregnant and she feels very motherly right now. She's nesting, and she's just reminded of little Derpy, chat, the kid that got fucking yeeted by that creature 300 plus days ago. And so she waddles in the house. Also, she goes down into the basement to get some more laundry to hang it up before she goes upstairs. And this is a very important scene. She goes in there, and she has to hand wash everything down there. Like, you can't turn the washing machine on because it makes too much fucking noise. A big racket because the things will come and run it. But, she puts everything into a sack. And, because she's all pregnant and like, oh, my God. She should have waited for her husband to come back to lift that thing. She shouldn't be lifting heavy bags of wet laundry, chat. She's pregnant, okay? It's like, Jesus Christ, she might fall over. You don't want that to happen to her. But she's like, she goes to the stairs, and the big burlap sack gets caught on part of the stairs. She's like, and she lifts it up, but a fucking nail comes loose, and it's standing right up, right where the white paint is. And it's like, usually, if you look down, you'd see it, but you're so used to stepping on these things, it becomes second nature. It's like, that's not good. And she's barefoot and pregnant. But she waddles up, Chad. She puts the laundry out there, but she gets hit with that melancholy, and she goes to a little Derpy's room, Chad, and she's, little Derpy. She has like a good cry, Chad. She needs a good cry. She's emotional, hormonal, as you expect. Eventually, though, Chad, we cut back to Marcus and John Krasinski, and they go to this waterfall, the water's just coming down, and then John Krasinski's like, come here, Marcus, come here. And he fucks the kid. He definitely fucks with him because he goes, oh, the kid's like, whoa! He's like, it's okay. It's like, and we see, I think this is the first time we hear John Krasinski's voice in the movie. I believe this is the first time he actually speaks like dialogue, not like signing dialogue, but actually speaks. It's like, whoa, it's cool. And we're like, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes in the film. Like, by the way, this movie is excellently paced. It's an hour and 27 minutes long. Like, technically it's 90 minutes, but 3 minutes of credits. But I love it so short, and it gets in, gets out. Perfect, chat. Wonderful screen. Hour and a half movies are like some of my favorite movies now. Because like you could tell a complete story with so little screen time. I love that. Really appreciate that. And it's like, we could talk about anything, buddy. And then later, they're sitting like right next to the waterfall, and they start having a conversation. The first time we hear Marcus talk. And Marcus, he brings up the fact that, Reagan, she seems really upset, and he says, are you mad at her? And John Krasinski says, no, of course not. And he's like, are you not mad about what happened? He goes, absolutely not. And he goes, I mean, do you still love her? Do you still love her? And he goes, of course I love her. Of course I love her. What happened was no one's fault. Okay, it was little Derpy's fault. I mean, he brought him on. He brought him his fucking self, Chad. Okay, he was not long for this world, and he's and the kid, like, say what you will about little Marcus, Chad, coward, whatever. I mean, he has some sage advice. It's all that book learning he's doing at home with Mama. He says, well, maybe you should tell her that. You should tell her that you love her, because I don't think you've said that to her in a long time. He's like, oh yeah, you're fucking right, I haven't. And we cut back to Reagan, and we go to, because she's been walking this whole time, but we cut back and forth between Reagan and the conversation between Marcus and John Krasinski. And we see that she's going to the spot where little Derpy died all those, like, 300 plus, a year ago, basically. And they made a little makeshift kind of memorial for him. They have a cross there and all these little knickknacks and pictures and shit. And she takes the rocket ship up, and she has, like, these, I guess, either pliers or, like, a pocket knife, and she gets the two, she like disconnects these two wires, she cuts these wires, and she turns it on. It's like, oh shit. But apparently Reagan, she's smart enough to know, like, those are the wires that make the sound. She puts it on there and starts blinking and shit, and she starts crying, and she just hangs out next to her dead brother where he died, Chad. We got fucking yeeted, across a goddamn field. Eventually, though, Chad, we cut back to John Krasinski and Marcus, and they're heading back home. They got some fish. They had a great conversation. It's a great father-son bonding trip, Chad. Thankfully, there's been no horrors to behold until now. And they pass by this house in the woods. It's like that kind of house in the woods that, like, when you grew up when you were little and, you're like, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11, 12 years old. And you see, like, these abandoned buildings in the woods. Like, it's like Blair Witch Project shit. It's like, what? Did someone live here? Do people live here back then? Like, what the fuck is this house? It's, like, not connected to anything. And we just see this house in the middle of the woods. It's very weird looking. And the kids, like, look at it, and we do see some graffiti that says, stay away or whatever, And he keeps walking, and he walks, and there's this fucking old guy, but he's all fuzzed up, Check, because he's out of focus, because we're focusing on little Marcus, and he's just walking straight ahead, not paying attention, no peripheral vision. There's this fucking old guy that's just standing there, very close to him, and little Marcus bumps into John Krasinski. And he's like, what the fuck? And he turns like, oh, he sees this old guy, he's all bearded and shit, and we see John Krasinski just staring at him, and Marcus, like, looks to his dad, looks at the guy, looks down, and we see that his wife. Now, I don't know how to interpret this scene. I think it can go many ways. Thank you for the 5 minutes. I don't want to live in this world, can't watch porn, can't play games, can't watch a shouting New Yorker talk about this movie. Nope. None of that, because it'd all be dead. All be dead. That's right. Unless you maybe have headphones on or something. But I love it because we look down, the old man's and we see that his wife has basically been disemboweled. Now, you can assume, like, it's not really said what happens, unless maybe John Krasinski said. It's several things, probably. One, the wife said, fuck it, I'm tired of living with a smelly old man, and she walked outside to kill herself for the creatures. And so these things came over and they disemboweled her. And the thing is, like, if these things killed her, they didn't eat her body. Like, they didn't drag her away or anything. They just ended her and left. So again, this is kind of like, okay, they're clearly not this, they have sharp teeth. I mean, they are carnivorous species, but they're not eating them. They're not eating the bodies, which leads me to believe that there's some kind of, I think they're a biological weapon. That's just my thoughts on it anyway. Or the old guy killed her. I don't know. I think they're bioweapons, which is very reminiscent of Alien. I think all the aliens comparisons that these movies have been getting is very apt. I don't know if we'll get an explanation in the third one. We'll see. But I think they're bioweapons. Which they, maybe another alien species sends them down. Like, all right, cleanse that fucking planet. Just yeet all these kids. Yeet all these little derpies. Right? But something happened. Either he killed her, these things killed her, or she killed herself. You can read the scene in various ways. But John Krasinski's just like, don't fucking say anything. And the old man sees him, and the old man's like, and because he wants to say something, John Krasinski's like, don't do it. Don't fucking do it. And the guy goes, and he's like, oh, fuck. And he grabs the kid, and he fucking starts running. He starts running, and he hides behind a tree, and he fucking just like, shut the fuck up. He's like holding his son's face, like, shut the fuck up, just looking at him. Like, shh. And we see this old guy just like embrace fucking death, chat, as this big old stick bug comes around and just slices him across the side, all the way across his tummy, and just starts beating the ground. We're beating him to death, Chad, just smushing him. And the kid's just like, ooh, and John Krasinski's just watching. He's just like, the whole time. Eventually, we cut back to Mom She's had herself a good old cry, chat. Had herself a good old cry, right? And she's like, oh, I gotta stand up. And she starts out standing up. She starts walling. She starts feeling those just coming out of her. She's like, what the hell? Oh no! Her water broke, chat. She front pooped out some water. She's like, oh no, the baby's coming. But it's like 3 weeks away. Don't matter. Baby's not on your clock, not on your biological clock, Emily Blunt. She's like, oh. And she's like trying to hold in the baby. And she's like waddling down the stairs, chat. And she has like this picture frame or something. She has this picture frame, and she's like, I gotta get all this stuff. I gotta get all this stuff in the basement because because she had to turn on the emergency lights, the emergency baby lights, these red lights she turns on when there's something bad happening. And she's waddling down the basement, chat. She's like, oh, and we see, chat, she's waddling closer to that nail that's now pointing up, and then you feel it because she goes, and it's what you expect it right in the middle of her fucking foot. That soft flesh goes right through it, chat. And she goes, oh, and she has this picture frame or something, and it falls out of her hand, smashes on the ground. Again, the loudest sound you could possibly imagine, but all this is just so in sync. You feel everything. You feel Emily Blunt's pain. She sells it, chat. You feel that, all the ladies out there that she's giving birth, she's going to front poop out a baby, and she's like, oh, like she's having a rough time. Emily Blunt has a rough time from this point on in the movie, chat. That's not great for her. And the picture frame fell, and it's a loud noise. And she's like, oh, and she's like, she sits down, and she lifts her foot up. And all the blood's coming out, chat, because a lot of veins and shit down there. And she's like, and you see all her bloody footprints throughout the entire movie. So you know that's going to get infected at one point. I would not be surprised if that's brought up in A Quiet Place Part 2. Can you cut off my infected fucking foot where I stepped on that rusty nail with no tetanus shots anymore? And so she goes down, and she goes to this switch, this breakers, and you see like the entire farm is covered in these lights. There's a shit ton of lights everywhere, Christmas lights or these big bulbs. And I guess there's a filament in there which can change the color. So she hits the breaker and they all fucking turn red, which is like, you got to come back now. It's an emergency. And so then she's like, she starts waddling up the stairs. Then we see one of these fucking creatures inside the house, because they took off all the doors off the hinges because they make too much noise. And you see this thing just walk in the house, and she's like, fuck. And then she waddles over. She's like, oh. She waddles over to like this shelf, and she grabs this thing, this little I forget what it is, the cooker, little time cooker thing, a little electronic cooker. So you know when the beeper and the booper, chat, when it goes off, you know that the chicken's done. Boom, chicken's done. And so she got the beeper booper timer, and she winds that up for like a minute or something, because she's like, I think, and this thing starts fucking coming down, chat. This big stupid derpy timer. Thank you. This big stupid looking legs just start coming down the stairs, and it starts going. And we get like a good sense of like what this creature is. We see that its face, it has all these plates and stuff that move, and looks like really thick bark. So like its skin is just apparently as tough as steel chip. It looks like bark to me, and it's all going up and down. And we see that it opens up a part of its like head in the back, and it has this disgusting looking ear thing. It's listening to things, and it's like, ooh, it just looks like the creature's constantly in pain because it hates any loud noise. It's like, ooh, it looks very sensitive. It looks like a very sensitive area, chat, on its head, and it starts listening to all this thing. We see Emily Blunt's just like, oh, the baby's coming. Oh, I got a front poop. And she's leaking everywhere. She's leaking everything, chat. Everything's coming out of Emily Blunt at this point in the movie. But the fucking the timer goes off. The cooking timer goes. Fucking chicken's done, and it goes. Ow! And it starts like hitting where the timer is, hitting all the fucking shelves because it hates that noise. It's so sensitive. And she's like, oh. And she starts waddling, chat, and she's trying to get back to the farm. She gets up the stairs, like, fuck you, Nail, gets up the stairs, but then she looks outside, she's like, fuck, because she sees another one of these fucking creatures just coming up to the deck, and she's like, oh, and so she goes all the way up. She goes all the way up to the second floor, chat. She's like, what the hell is she gonna do? You see this trail of blood or bloody footprints, chat? All of her baby juices that are coming out of her. It's like, Jesus Christ, oh no. Eventually, chat, we cut to John Krasinski and Marcus as they're making their way up to the farmstead, and they see all the lights are on. And they're like, oh, fucking shit. Oh, no. And they fucking take off running because mom's in trouble. And they get to like the middle of like where the house is, to like they have the farm right there and there's a house right there, and like, oh shit, and they see these creatures like walking in, so it's like, oh, it's like all in sync of each other, it's all timed. And he's like, listen, he's signing to him. He's like, we have to help Mom. You have to make a loud fucking noise so I can go in there and get her. He's like, turn on, release the rockets. The rockets, they have fireworks on their property, and they'll only use them in case of emergency to distract these fucking things, keep them away from everyone else. And he's like, go and fucking turn them on right now. Here is, oh yeah, and go, you know the spot. Like, everything's marked. Like, I just love how he's in this little environment, this little compound they made of themselves. Like, everything has been thought out. They've gone over it. Like, these kids are very competent. They know exactly what to do. And you go to this location, you'll find like under this rock, you lift up the rock, there'll be a box, you dig it up, open it, there'll be the lighter in there. It's like, everything's prepped. So like, everything is where it needs to be. It's like, it's very well thought out, and I love it. Like, no one's stupid. No one's stupid. I mean, Emily Blunt, she was just like, oh, I'm just really pregnant, and she just didn't expect the baby fluid to come out. But the kid's like, okay, I'll do this. But meanwhile, we cut to Emily Blunt, and she's waddled into the bathroom, chat, and she's like in the tub, and it's all coming out of her at this point. It's like, ooh. I remember in the theater, everyone's going, oh God. And you see this fucking thing just coming up the stairs and scraping against the walls and shit, open its little clicker, like, see disgusting ear and shit. And she's like trying to, literally holding in everything that's coming out of her, chat, but she's got a front poop, chat. And eventually, and look, we cut back to, we see John Krasinski's getting this fucking shotgun, right, putting all the shells in. He's going to take to the house. Then we see little Marcus. He gets there, Chet gets the rock, digs the thing up, and starts, fuck, these Zippos suck. I hate, getting Zippos to work, chat. But he gets it, and boo! And right when he releases the rock, right before the rock is released, we cut back to Emily Blunt, who's in the tub, and this thing's like right in the bathroom. Like, its hand is like right next to her head. It's like, just creeping in. And she goes, she starts screaming, she's giving birth to a baby. And then it's like, oh no. And eventually these things hear this, and it's like, oh, what happened? What happened? Then John Krasinski, he takes off to the house. He sees these fucking things just go in the direction of his son. And we also see that Reagan, she's just been hanging out with her dead brother, a little spot where he got, yeeted. And she sees all the rockets going off, so she takes off running too, back to the farmstead. John Krasinski, he goes in the house, and he sees all the blood stains everywhere. From his wife, all of the fluids, and he goes up the stairs, Chad, and he sees where all the blood is. The bathtub is just blood, just blood and viscera, all that amniotic fluid, and he's like, oh, because he thinks he's crying because he thinks that the wife got eaten, who knows? Then we get like a really, so there's like, there are a lot of jump scares in the movie, but most of them are effective. This is the one I'm like, all right, you didn't need to do that. But she goes, bah! And she hid in the shower. And he opens the shower. And Emily Blunt and the baby are like, nah, they're right there. And she's like, oh, thank God they're okay. They're okay. And he takes them, and they go downstairs. Eventually, we cut back to little Marcus. And, he turned the rockets on. But these things are coming for him. So he starts fucking panicking. He's like walking slowly through the cornfields, but he knows they're nearby. And he starts hearing them like they're galloping. And he's like, oh! And he takes off running. And he just hits, fucking just runs right into like a tractor, hits the tire, knocks himself out. Eventually, we cut back to Reagan, who has now walked in the farmstead very close to her brother, and she's looking at all the lights and doesn't see her mom, doesn't see her dad, doesn't see Marcus either. And she's looking around, but she looks down, she sees Marcus's little flashlight. She's like, huh? And she looks down there, and then we see this fucking creature come up behind her, but she can't hear anything. So she has no idea. Her peripheral senses don't work, so she doesn't know this thing's behind her. But it opens its stupid little ear canal thingy. It's gross and yucky. But then this fucking loud sound starts to come from her hearing aid. And it's like this super high frequency. She's like, it's hurting her ear. And it hurts the fucking creature. The creature's like, what the fuck is that? It gets so pissed, it just runs away. It's because it's in such horrific fucking pain. She's like, what the hell? And eventually, she goes to get the flashlight, and then her brother grabs her hand, but he's okay. Little Marcus is okay. Eventually, we cut back to good old John Krasinski, Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt, she's done leaking fluids and things, and John Krasinski's carrying her and the baby. But the baby's gonna baby, chat. They might have a little derp on their hands. We don't know, but it starts going, starts crying and shit. It's like you expect. I mean, I can't be mad at the baby. Came in the baby. We gotta get into the pickle room. We gotta pickle the baby. And so he's like, oh shit, Jesus. He starts going inside the barn, chat, and he's just running at this point. And we see the pickle cellar, and they have this mattress on top, and he's like, he goes down and puts the mattress, and right when this fucking creature just starts walking and starts destroying shit, because he hears the little baby going, "Nyeh," and he sets everything up. He sets everything. But then we cut back to the kids. Oh, there's an important scene early in the movie. I think it's really cool that establishes that the Abbotts, the family, John Krasinski, Emily Blunt, all the kids, that they do have neighbors. They do have neighbors who have their own little compounds and facilities all around this area. And it was a point in the movie where, it was right before they had dinner, I forgot to mention this, where John Krasinski's sitting up on this grain silo, or this corn silo that he has, and he has this, kerosene, which I love this in the movie. It's a small thing, but so often, would create a fire, we need gasoline. No, you idiot. You need fucking kerosene. They have like all these kerosene cans on top of these grain silos, and he goes, or corn silos in this case, and he goes up there, and he, like, every night, he creates a fire on there, and it's like fucking like, Gondor contacting Rohan, because he sees like all these other people on their grain silos or corn silos or silos in general, and they all light their own fires. Basically, hey, we're checking in. We're okay. I think that's really cool. So we gotta pickle the baby. That's what they gotta do. Chris Herman, A Quiet Place Review 2021. Yeah. Yeah. You gotta keep it quiet, don't you? But they go up there because they want to like tell their neighbors, like, help us. And these neighbors are like, fuck that. Because they light the fire, and now, because they all heard this shit going on in that, hey, better them than us, right? They go up there, they light the kerosene fire, and like none of the other silos are lit. And so you can read it either two ways. One, they're all fucking dead. I doubt that. Two, they don't want to fucking go over there. They were like, we are not going over there. Absolutely not. So it's cool that there are communities living here. And maybe you can say the Abbotts interacted with them. Maybe they traded stuff. I don't know. Maybe they were friends. But in this world, chat, you have your own. Outside of that, it's hard to communicate. And they're like, we are not going, because they'll probably fucking die. Like, I'm not mad at the neighbors. I get why they made that choice. It's cold. It's the state of the world. But it's like, I like that they established that there is a community here. We just don't see it. The cast is relatively small, Chad. The only other actor we saw, other than we saw two other actors. We did see, of course, Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, Millicent Simmons, who plays Reagan, Noah Jupe plays Marcus Abbott, the baby, Kate Woodward, who played Little Derpy, and Leon Russom, who's an actor who's been working for like nearly 60 years, plays the old man in the woods, and then the body of his wife. That's it. That's how small the cast is. Really cool. I love a really small cast of characters. You get to know them so much better. Very reminiscent of Alien again, chat. But they light the kerosene fire, and no one's responding. They're like, oh, fucking shit. Well, what the hell are we going to do now? But eventually we cut back to Emily Blunt, who's having a fucking dream of Little Derpy getting yeeted. And she goes, "Blah!" She wakes up, and John Krasinski goes, it's okay. Everything's fine. And we see that, that the room is working. It's very effective. This is actually the first conversation, like, with dialogue that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt have, which I think is really fucking cool. Because before then, it was just sign language the whole time. Like, the lack of actual dialogue in this movie is kind of like, wow, surprising to me. But they start having a conversation. And we see that the baby's in the pickle box, and he's got the little breather mask on. He's fucking quiet, thank God. And he's like, you need to rest now, okay? She's like, well, how did you get here? He's like, the rockets. Little fucking Marcus released him. She goes, where is he? He was with you. And where's Reagan? She was out there. And they had this wonderful conversation about, like, having to protect their children and then the family they want to continue to have. And how it's like, you need to go out there, and you need to get our children. We need to be together. It's a nice little message. And they talk about Little Derpy getting derped, getting yeeted and shit, and how this is a new chance for all of them, but we need to stay together. And we're stronger when we're together. And he's like, you need to save our children. He's like, fuck yeah, I'll save our kids. And he goes out there, shit. He removes the mattress. And he puts it back on there, and he starts walking out. But then we see, Chet, all this fucking water, because the thing destroyed the barn, and it messed up all the pipes, Chet, the irrigation system and shit, and all this water starts pouring out everywhere, including start going down into the baby pickle room. It's like, eventually, he walks outside, and I think he might go to the basement first, because he's looking at shit like on the monitors and trying to see where the kids are. Eventually, we cut back to Reagan and Marcus, and Reagan's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna leave because we got to see where Mom and Dad are." And Marcus is like, "No, Dad's told us to stay here. He said he'd come for us." And Reagan's still very bitter, upset with Dad, and she's saying, no, he'll come for you. He'll come for you because he loves you and doesn't love me. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, he loves both of us, obviously. You don't understand. Dad told me because he's signing this. And he falls right through the grain silo, the corn silo. And Reagan's like, she doesn't know, though, at first because she's like, huh? and we see that the creatures. Oh, that's the thing. Are we at that point yet? Wait, are we at that? No, we're not at that point yet. So... And they start, I know exactly what's happening here. So so Reagan goes over there and sees the brothers like drowning in fucking corn. He's like, and we see one of the metallic doors had given way and falls there and nearly fucking cuts him in half, Chad. It goes right into the corn. He's trying to help himself. But these things are coming to run it because Dad, he gets up on this tractor. He's outside now. He's looking for the kids. He heard the noise and he sees them. But these things they're fucking around. These giant derpy stick bugs are coming for him. And he can't get there. He's just watching horror as he's like, I hope my kids are not as dumb as Derpy. Hope they could survive this. Eventually, Reagan, she jumps into the corn, trying to help her brother. But the brother, he already gets on. She pushes like the metallic door towards him. He climbs on it, but she starts fucking drowning in the corn shit. Talk about children of the corn, am I right? And she's like, "Blah!" And then he reaches down there and gets his sister. He's like, he's got little muscles, little Marcus Chad. He's a competent character. He knows what he's doing. Pulls his sister out, gets her on top of the door, and they're like, well, this couldn't get any worse. And then a fucking creature just crashes through the top of it, trying to get on top, and just like, just like smashing shit. Eventually, Dad's like, oh, he's freaking out. Eventually, we cut back to good old Emily Blunt chat, and she's having a nice nap. And then she wakes up because she's feeling wet, and she's like, well, I'm done leaking baby fluids and stuff, and my foot's all bandaged up. What the hell's going on? And she sees that the entire room has become flood in the distance. Matt Outlander. That would have been fucking amazing. I'm surprised one of the kids wasn't named Malachi. Thank you for the 5 minutes, by the way. But we see that the entire room is flooded, chat. And we see that the little baby in the pickle box is just kind of floating and shit. Just floating. She's like, oh. But then, this is great. This is like one of my favorite. And this is the Jaws scene in the movie, which I think is really cool. And we see like right by the baby pickle box, this fucking creature's in a corner just like moving around like slowly. And it was very reminiscent of Ridley Scott's Alien. I always talk about this, one of my favorite shots in that movie, chat. And it's so unique to the Alien franchise because you never see the creatures move around like this again. But the original, there's a scene in the movie where Yaphet Kotto's character Parker and Lambert are getting all this like oxygen tanks to go into the escape vehicle, and because they're burning up the Nostromo. And you see that the creature is going to it's going towards Lambert, and she's like, oh god, and the alien just starts moving like this. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's feeling the air around it. And I just love that scene because we never see these things do it again because they're always moving fast or jumping around. But it's like, I don't know what the fuck it's doing. And is this like a mating ritual? Like, I don't know. But it's like it's moving so weird in the air. Like it's trying to sense things. I love it. And the creature in this scene is like moving super slowly in the water. And I'm like, I love this. And it's right next to the baby pickle box. And it's like, to make it even worse, it just goes right into the water. And we're underground. There's only like one red light, and it's complete fucking darkness. So you can bump into this thing. It's so fast and slow. Maybe it's that. But it's like it's in the water, and you don't know where it is. And everything's dark, and the CGI here is very good. Because the CGI for the most part of the movies, it's good. But here is the best. Because it looks fucking real, whatever the fuck this thing is moving around in here. And she's like, shit. And this is Jaws, because she's like, I gotta get out of bed. She starts wading into the water, getting closer to the baby pickle box. And eventually she gets there. She grabs the baby, who's like, yeah. And this thing's head just rises up just so quietly. And just it's there, but it's right next to the box. And she's like, fuck. And she's like moving as slow as possible back, because this thing's just moving towards her, just feeling the air around it. Like trying to get a sense of where it is. Because it's blind. It detects things through sound. And it's like, like almost like it's feeling the air around its head. And she's like slowly backing away, and she goes under the waterfall of water that's coming in, and she goes through it, and this thing's like still moving towards her, and the parts the water like that. It's beautiful looking, chat. The horror is beautiful in this scene. But then we cut to the kids who are fighting this thing off in the corn silo, chat. And Reagan, her fucking ear thingy starts, her hearing aid starts going off, and the frequencies get super loud. She's like, ah! And this thing starts, ah! and it just fucking freaks out, and it just busts. It does a Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah, and it just Kool-Aid Man's its way out of the corn silo. Eventually. And then we we cut because of that loud noise. The thing's like, wow, where the Emily Blunt and baby are, it fucking takes off running. It goes back up there. Emily Blunt, she goes back into the house. She goes in the house and she goes down to the basement where she thinks it's the safest, and she starts watching the monitors. Eventually, we see John Krasinski and the kids, they fucking embrace each other. They all are hugging and shit. And it's like, we gotta go and get mom. Okay, she had the baby and shit. We gotta go. And so but then they hear, ow! And like all these things are like pretty close by. And you have a backup plan. And he tells them, go to the pickup truck. So they have this pickup truck where it's in this weird, I don't know, pulley system, or, all you got to do is like move this one thing out of the way. You move the stick shift and it'll go down this path, and you'll avoid having to walk on foot, and it'll give you some protection. He tells the kids to go to that fucking pickup truck right now. And, put some distance between him and them, because he's got to find out where the fuck this creature is so he can move around, so he knows what to do, when to do it. And he goes to this like little shed area, and he picks up this axe check. He's like, because he doesn't have the shotgun. He has no weapon on him. He picks up this axe, but he hears and he looks up, and this thing's right above him and goes, bah! And it fucking yeets. It yeets John Krasinski, Chad. And he goes, ah! And it's like, oh no! And then fucking Marcus sees his dad get yeeted, and he's like, Dad! And this kid goes, wow! All these things are like, wow! And this fucking giant derpy stick bug just comes running at him in the car and just starts banging on the fucking car, Chad, trying to get those kids out. It's like a bunch of sardines, Chad, succulent child sardines. And he's like, nah, nah, nah. And John Krasinski's like, oh! He's in a lot of pain. Reagan, at this point, she starts fucking with her hearing aid. She's like, okay, she's starting to figure out, like, wait a minute. Every time my hearing aid gets all weird, these things get all weird. The sound is really messing with them. And so she ups the frequency on her hearing aid or whatever, and she's like, ah! And this thing's like, ah! This thing just takes off running. It just takes off running, and then the thing, like, kind of breaks or whatever. I don't know what happens to it. Kind of like, she shuts it off. It was so painful. She's completely deaf. And this is a cool scene, because all we see is Marcus going, and she turns around, and it's the fucking thing just ramming in the car again, like boom, boom, trying to get those child sardines, chat, those kid fishes. But then we have the moment in the movie that made me cry, and I was like, my audience was crying, Chad. They were sniffling during this scene. This is a great goddamn scene here, Chad. John Krasinski's like, excuse me, I'm gonna act my ass off, because he fucking gets up and all of his fucking tummy's falling out at this point, like huge fucking gash on his abdomen. He's like, ugh! And he sees his daughter, and they make eye contact, and he signs, I love you. I've always loved you. And then she's like, oh, I love you too, Dad. And then you know what's happening. He has this fucking wail that he gives out, because he needs, like, what Emily Blunt, you gotta protect her kids no matter what. And he gives off this, just like this sad scream, chap. And these things go, Row! And Renee's like, no, Dad! Like, she's screaming and shit. Marcus is like, no, we gotta go. He hits the fucking stick. This thing goes rolling, chat. And we see this fucking John Krasinski just standing there. And this thing just gallops towards him, goes, boom! And it yeets him, chat. It yeets him even worse than Little Derpy all that year ago, chat. He gets yeeted so hard. It was powerful. It made me cry. I got really watery-eyed during the scene. You feel it. You spend so much intimate time with these characters, and they feel so real. The environment feels so real. It's like, oh my God, Jesus. And he's fucking dead. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back in the sequel. Eventually, the kids roll the way down. And they stop. They come to a stop. It's cushion and shit. Smart. Very smart. And they run out because they know Mom's probably in the basement. They go down there. Oh, no, Mom's at the front of the house. And she's out there. She has the baby and shit. And they all hug each other. And they all like, yeah, Dad's fucking dead. It's like, shit. And it's like, let's go down the basement at this point. We got to go down there. And so they all fucking go down there, chat. And Reagan, not Reagan, excuse me, Reagan. Reagan sees all the stuff that her dad worked on, shows how he's trying to figure out, like, the stick bugs and, like, society. And she sees his entire workshop trying to make her hearing aid that works so she can hear again. And she's, like, overcome by emotion during this. She's like, oh my God, my dad, he loved me. And oh shit, why was I so mad? Why was I mad at him and all that? And then Emily Blunt gives the baby to Marcus. You know, the whole and is crying. He's like, meh, it starts going, meh, meh. It's like, oh no. And then she's like, Emily Blunt's like grabs the shotgun, but that chat's not over. It's not over, baby, because they see a giant fucking stick bug start coming down the fucking stairs, and like, oh shit, and it separates them. So Emily Blunt and Reagan are on one side of the room near all the technology, and Marcus and the baby, they're all on the other side of the thing, and they're near the shelves and shit. And Marcus is like, well, I'm gonna do what I do best, hide. I'm gonna fucking hide. And he has the baby, he's like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Just try to get the baby shut. And this thing's like, wah, 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 all that shit. And at this point, it's like, ow, god damn it. Emily Blunt's like, she has a shotgun, but this thing, it can take shotgun shells, slugs like nothing, Chad. It's not going to hurt it. But Reagan, she's like, look, he's like, wait a minute, the high frequency, the sound, weakness. Because the father's like, Reagan, weakness. Like, what is it? She realizes it's the high frequency. And she fucking turns up the hearing aid, and she's like, And the thing's like, it starts freaking out. It's like little bark flaps on his face are all going all over the place and shit. She turns it up even louder, and she goes to the speaker system. She puts it inside of this the little headphone, and it goes even louder, and things goes and starts freaking out until it kind of like concusses itself and it falls backwards. And it's like, we fucking did it. Yay, we did it. And Marcus and the baby are looking okay, but this thing fucking gets back up and shit. It gets back up, and Reagan, she just fucking, whoop, she turns that shit up, and right before it launches itself, it's like, bro, all this shit's all exposed and stuff, and Mama, she goes, bang, and she blows this thing's fucking head off, chat, and lands down dead, chat. But that was a very loud sound, and they look on all the TV monitors, chat, all the other creatures, all the other stick bugs, which there were either 3 or 4 in the area, and you see them all in the monitors just running right towards the house, shit, just getting closer. And then we have this thing I don't really like, because we cut to Emily Blunt, and she goes, I'm gonna kill him. and movie ends. And I guess it picks up immediately, and Quiet Place Part 2 picks up immediately after this scene. But I just didn't like the ending, because the mom like gives a smirk like, don't worry, here we go. It's like, no, you're not. You'd be like, oh, it's like, we're fucked. I think this would have been a much better ending, more subtle ending, had Reagan just, like, they all looked at each other, and she turned to the radio high-frequency monitor and turned all the way up and goes, and it clicks. There you go. That's all you need, not a, let's go, everybody. Let's beat some stick bugs. Like, that's my big criticism of the film. But overall, great film. John Krasinski did, what a great debut into the horror genre by him. Everything from the acting was great across the board. Wonderful setting. Environmental storytelling was spectacular, and the sound editing, sound mixing, and use of silence was spectacular. It's a great idea. So yeah, this is, to me, is the very definition of very, very high full price chat. Really enjoyed this movie. Great, yeah. It's a terrible ending, but the movie exactly. It's a terrible ending, but the movie is overall great. Just a high full price. It would have been better than Sex had they just changed that last couple of seconds. Like, if they'll change the last couple of seconds of the movie, I'm like, better Sex. But as it stands, high full price. And apparently it leads right into another, at least in the sequel, like immediately afterwards. So we'll see. Ready for Danny? Thank you. I think it's just a bit more subtle. It'll be like, oh, you can use this weakness against, like, all fucking look at each other. And Reagan just turns, she goes, and then you end with that sound and the zzz. And then you have the John Krasinski credits, directed by John Krasinski, all that shit. But overall, high full price, great movie, chat. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend seeing this film. If you're not seeing this film before A Quiet Place Part 2, the review is over. I have finished my review. Thank you. This was a fun one. Another smash review in the ground. Thank you so much. Strangers Shoot, they were the idiots. But will they be in Fantastic Four? Good evening. I hope so, Strangers Shoot. I think John Krasinski and Emily Blunt would make a fantastic Mr. Fantastic and Mrs. Fantastic as a woman, respectively, no doubt. Langley, Base 2, Resurrection of Derpy. We can rebuild him. We can make him stronger, less stupid. We have the technology. No, he'll doom us all with his derp. Oh, Chad. Yeah, so this is a really fun review. This is a good one, Chad, because I like this movie. It's a great film. Do check it out, chat. Through any means possible, buy the Blu-ray, watch on Amazon, what have you. If it's on Hulu, you can watch it today, chat. Watch it today. Got right or buy from Amazon, not on HBO. Yeah, it's not, sadly, but yeah, you can buy it. It's worth it. It's good. It's a great movie. So if you haven't seen it, Langley, see it, watch it, my friend. The sequel's coming out Friday, less than 2 days. Do it now. It's on Hulu. And the last time I checked, it was on Hulu. It might have been taken off, but I believe it still is. So let's go see that. It might be at Walmart. It might be on sale. I would check that out. Oh, Lord. But chat, that brings an end to my movie review. I will come back and review Samurai Jack episode 10 in just a minute, chat. I'm going to refill my beverage, so please entertain yourselves amongst yourselves, chat. I'll be right back. Stick around, you crazy kids.